Hello. I have a book I want to talk about. It's called Chaos: Charles Manson, the CIA, and the Secret History of the Sixties by Tom ONeill and a co-writer, Dan Piepenbring, Piepenbring, who is not really mentioned in the book. So what this is, as I said, it has to do with the Manson murders. The Tate LaBianca murders in 1969 happened in 1969, and it is Tom ONeill's a little younger than I am, so he might not have remembered the actual time of the murders. I do. And the thing is, I was a hippie then, and I was completely unaffected by it. It was like if the plan by the CIA or whatever was to disrupt the anti-war LSD movement in some sort of way, it failed as far as I'm concerned because I didn't think it had anything to do with me, these murders, or anybody I knew, or anything. So it wasn't like the end of the '60s in my way of thinking. Actually, the '60s were just starting for me since I graduated from high school in 1969, that very year. So I was not about to let the '60s be taken away from me. The '60s I experienced through the mass media in Ohio, and wanted to go and join, which I did, to a certain extent. So this is really a book about the investigation. So Tom ONeill puts himself into the story quite a bit. It's really a first-person written story about his investigations into this murder and the trial, and his findings that the prosecution, Vincent Bugliosi, had basically made up a whole line of inquiry and did not look into other lines of inquiry that they should have. And that's what Tom ONeill is doing in this book, looking into these other things that weren't looked into and weren't revealed during the actual trial and so forth. There's a I think it's just a one shot. It's not a series. There is a documentary by what's his name, Morris, the big doc on Netflix called Chaos, based on the book. And I heard an interview by Tom ONeill recently, and he thought that the documentary was kind of a failure, and I guess I kind of think it was too. Only it does present the book to people and suggest that they might want to read it. So the experience of reading the book itself, is very detailed. There's lots of things that go on, and we go through the story of him trying to find out what happened. It starts out as an assignment from Premiere magazines, a movie magazine back in the '90s, and was supposed to be for the 30th anniversary of the murders, which was, I guess, in '99. So Tom ONeill keeps finding more things and wanting to extend the thing, and gets extension from Premiere and keeps getting extensions, and eventually they back out, and someone else buys the company, and they're folding. So he's lost the publisher. He ultimately gets a book publishing deal by Penguin, and that falls through too. So, over the whatever 20 years that he's investigating all this, he tells us about the dealing with the publishing world of this as well, and that's quite interesting, as well as the text of all this other stuff that he comes up with. Now, the ultimate thing that could be revealed was Manson part of MK Ultra? Was Manson a mind controlled assassin who then forgot about what he did, and right after the whole thing, and did he learn through this mind control training how to manipulate others to turn these presumably good girls into killers? It all blamed on LSD, but there's also a real speed influence in all this, and amphetamines, and that they actually took speed on the night that they went to the house, and were not tripping. And he talks about how the scene in this all happened in L.A., but how the scene in San Francisco was turning much into more of a speed thing at the end of the '60s, and it was just turning horrible and violent, and because of the results of this other kind of substance. Through the course of the investigation, he runs into Jolly West. Now, Jolly West is an interesting figure because he also shows up at other things. He shows up at the Kennedy assassination, in that he interviews Jack Ruby in his cell, and during the time that he's with Jack Ruby has turned incurably insane. So, whatever Jolly West gave Jack Ruby in that cell, rendered him useless to any sort of prosecution, or, an investigation into what really went on during the Kennedy assassination. So the whole thing of trying to tie Jolly West in with Manson is kind of a thing that didn't really succeed, but he finds Jolly West in the same places that Manson was at the same time. Like during Manson's year up in San Francisco, he had a lot of interaction with the Haight-Ashbury Free Health Clinic, and also Jolly West was up there doing his own studies of LSD, and he had an office in the Haight-Ashbury Free Health Clinic. So, and there's all this stuff about how Manson could be where he was at all. How he just changed. He's on probation during all this traveling, and he just goes from one thing to another. He gets arrested a few times, and nothing happens there. He doesn't get sent back to jail. So there's all these questions about what the probation department were doing with him, and why he was always released again to do whatever he ended up doing. So there's questions about whether that was some kind of a manipulation from above to keep him in the field, keeping him doing it because he was an agent of some sort. So all that is really the most interesting part. That is the meatiest thing about the whole story is was Manson working somehow for the government as part of COINTELPRO or Operation Chaos, one of these government CIA, FBI organization programs to disrupt the left at that time. They would. There's all this other material that's we're aware of. How that happened is somebody actually, some activists raided a FBI office and came up with all this stuff, found out about what they were doing, and otherwise it might never have been revealed. But they would write letters to various activists claiming to be from the other activists, all kinds of things, cause jealousies, cause infighting, it led to some killings, whatever. So there's this vast government program to disrupt the left that was going on at the same time. And so the question is that was actually Manson part of that? And he was set up to do these murders and blame it on the Black Panthers or just blame hippies for this kind of behavior to cause people to disrupt hippies and anybody in the anti-war movement, all that, just to destroy the left for the sake of all Americanism. Did I say I read this book before? I read this book before in Mexico when I was down in Mexico. That was like 3 years ago. Is it 4 years now? Anyway, I'd read it in a digital form on my iPad mini, so I decided I should read it again so I could do a review of it here, and that's why I got this library copy that looked like nobody had actually been reading. So, once again, I don't think people really read books very much. So he meets all these people involved, even Bugliosi, who and he finds all this stuff about Bugliosi that's really interesting. That before the case, like like 7 years before, there was this big brouhaha where Bugliosi somehow thought that his wife had gotten pregnant by the milkman. Yeah, really, and so that so he kept harassing the milkman and so on and so forth, and his wife just said, you're insane. What's the matter with you? She took whatever test that was necessary to cause him to know that the baby was his, and so there's this big thing that went on before, and that was kind of suppressed by the time of the Manson murders. But when Bugliosi tried to run for district attorney, he was in the district attorney department. He was not the district attorney. When he tried to run for that later in 1972, I believe, he did not get that because this stuff came out about his back behavior with this milkman and his wife. So Bugliosi was just kind of insane, and he knew right off the bat that he was going to make a lot of money off of this book about the Helter Skelter and all that, and actually had a writer on at the trial with him to take notes and so forth while he was conducting the trial of prosecuting Manson and the family. So so Bugliosi kind of threatens to sue. He's very concerned about his leg. Oh, by the way, Helter Skelter, the book, is like according to this, it's like the biggest true crime book ever, like as far as sales. So it made a lot of money and so forth. And so Bill Leosi was concerned about his legacy. He wanted to be remembered as this great prosecutor, and the stuff that ONeill was coming up with was not going to reflect positively on him in that way. So he said, if anything, I'm going to sue you for $100 million. If anything, ultimately he died before the book came out because, as I said, the book kept being delayed and so forth. So it did come out, and I read it, and it's very interesting. If you don't know anything about MK Ultra or any of these things, it's not a bad place to start. It's a very rich, lots of stuff going on, lots of characters that people would not really remember, like there's these drug cocaine dealer guys that were friends with Mama Cass. Mama Cass was quite into coke, apparently, and but do anybody really know who Mama Cass is anymore these days? From the mamas and the papas, probably not that many. So it's funny because as he's investigating this, these people are dropping off. He's starting this in 1999, and this is 30 years after the case. So a lot of people are leaving the moral coil by that time because it's their time. So I'm if anybody wants to know about my life or things went in the past that I'm associated with, they probably ought to find out soon because people don't live forever. So he's scrambling to talk to a lot of these people. Many of them died, many years earlier, some in the 90s even. So they were lost. But he does talk to a lot of people, and there's all this stuff in there about Terry Melcher. Terry Melcher was a record producer, and he was the son of Doris Day, and he was involved with the Manson family for a little while. Manson wrote songs and sang, and the idea was that Manson was trying, and some of these LA people were trying to get him a record contract. Dennis Wilson, the Manson family hung out at Dennis Wilson's house for like a couple of months because Dennis liked the girls and so forth, and the drugs. And part of that whole scene was also Terry Melcher, who went out to the ranch, to the Spahn Ranch, to listen to Manson's songs and record them. Well, there's this whole, there's the question of whether he dissed Charlie, and he had lived in the house where Sharon Tate and the others had been murdered before. So there was a question of was the murders some sort of a message to Terry Melcher to watch his ass because Charlie was pissed and after him. But then there's stuff where Melcher testified at the trial, but some information was held back. Like there's people who told ONeill that Melcher had gone out to the Spahn Ranch to hang out with Manson after the murders occurred, and was seen high on acid kissing Charlie's feet, apologizing for something, for not signing him or whatever. So anyway, it's a very complicated story, and I guess it goes on 400 pages, And it's an interesting read, and that's basically what I have to say about Chaos. A complicated book you have to read for yourself to really get into it. I can't do any justice to this incredible, weird case from back in the 20th century, which is quickly zooming away and out of sight. Bye bye.